Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Time Davos Hub. We're coming to you from the Arctic Basecamp tent here. We're at the top of the Schatzalp Berg, and we have this wonderful Schatzalp Berghotel behind us. And we're here, of course, because it is World Economic Forum Week. And we are here to bring climate conversations to the center stage. And we're doing this together with our partners, Basecamp, Kearney, Hitachi, and also Exponential Roadmap Initiative. And these days here, we're going to bring, as I mentioned, climate conversation center stage. And we're doing this by forming panels here in front of the camera, interviewing experts. We have policymakers, we have scientists, we have activists, and some famous Hollywood stars even coming here in the studio outside. And to get things started, I'd like to ask Ingmar Rentzhog, the founder of We Don't Have Time, and also the CEO, to join us here on stage. Hello, Ingmar. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Excellent. So, Ingmar, you brought us, the team, all the way here from Stockholm, and that's sort of a big endeavor to go to Davos. Expensive, it's kind of far. Why is it important for us to be here at World Economic Forum?
More challenging journey when coming to Davos in a Western country, but the reason why we are here in Davos during World Economic Forum, because the leaders are here. And this is kind of close meeting. So what we want to do is to bring out the discussions happening here to a wider audience. This year it's not so much about telling how urgent the climate issues are for the leaders here. They already know that. So I think our important mission this year is to actually bring out the discussions. How do we act in world, the political landscape? How can we push the climate agenda forward? We need to align, and it's very important. This is an extremely important thing for that, because it's a lot of confusion, and if you're not aligned, we will not push it the way it should. But if we are aligned, I think we will do what it takes.
And so far, what picking up?
That's basically what I pick up. I spoke yesterday about on an panel about the difference from COP29 in Baku and what's happening here. In Baku, everyone was kind of trying to pretend that the United States will just going as they always do. It was kind of a collective ignorance about that we have a changed leadership in the US and they want to exit the Paris Agreement, etc. It was very strange, I think. But here you can't ignore it because you had Donald Trump, entering White House yesterday, so it's the talk point. And the rumor says he's also going to do a speak here in Davos at 5 o'clock on Thursday, but probably through video link.
We'll see.
So that's a good thing because it's good for climate, not by private jet here. So
definitely.
Maybe he's going to change his mind now on climate when he's president.
Well, fingers crossed, huh? So let's bring in David, also CEO and also co-founder of We Don't Have Time. Hello, David. Seat on the furry chairs here. So, David, what can you tell us about where we're at? Or the Arctic Basecamp? What are they trying to achieve here at Davos? Because we're actually partnering with them.
The Arctic Basecamp, we're very happy to partner with them to offer us this space outside this beautiful hotel Schatzalp. And it's an organization that really wants to raise awareness of climate crisis in these international meetings. And they've been coming to Davos 7 or 8 years. So it's one of those partner organizations where the alignment between the values, we don't have time, and the partner is, well, close to perfection. They want the same thing as us. They want to really push for radical climate action and do it through a network of scientists and activation through that network.
Great. We had one of the scientists on yesterday. We're going to have one on today. So, David, we want to accelerate and push climate agenda here, of course, in Davos. And in terms of ideas and opportunities, what are you most hopeful for during Davos and also moving into 2025?
Well, we work as a platform. We don't have time. We work with close to any vertical. So you see all the solutions. We work all the solutions in any vertical, in any field of business. So I can't really point to anyone particular, but I was asked during a dinner yesterday, do we have the solution at hand to solve the climate crisis? And the answer is a resounding yes, we do. We do have the solutions. What is lacking is, of course, courage. This is much talked about, and political leadership.
Indeed.
What we are seeing now with the US pulling out of the Paris Agreement need to be met with a pushback. And here, I mean, we play a pivotal role in accelerating that push, because I do think it's civil society then that needs to take the mantle and really. I really hope this will happen. In terms of both invest, not get bogged down in CSRD reporting, but providing resources for that, but providing bigger resources for the strategical realignment with 1.5. Yeah.
I'm going to talk more about the 1.5 later on today. Thank you very much, David. And let's now bring on Angela Holberg. Angela is, what could you say, extended family? Wonderful to see you, and Global Sustainability Director at Kearney. So this year's theme of WEF is collaboration for the intelligent era. So what would you say about the opportunities and also challenges, of course, when it comes to collaboration? Moving on.
First of all, thank you for having me. Love being extended family. That's quite a badge of honor, I think. I think sometimes let's not overcomplicate things, okay? Mm-hmm. For all the connectivity and intelligence and AI and blockchain and you name it in the world, we are still humans, right? And we are based on trust. And change can only happen at the speed of the trust we have for each other. That is what successful collaboration is. It doesn't depend on AI, it doesn't depend on technology, it depends on trust. So that's number one, what we need. And to not make it harder than it is. For sure, a lot of challenges. We're seeing geopolitical challenges, mentioned here. Not only with the US and the election and the uncertainties around tariffs and such, but there are other parts of the world as well also facing different challenges. We don't know where India will go. We don't know how Japan will re-strategize because of China's new efforts. We don't know what's going to happen with Russia, Ukraine. So there's a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty creates hesitation.
Indeed.
And hesitation is probably our number one foe here, because not acting will definitely not get us anywhere. So we have to move. The opportunities, even though we're facing geopolitical uncertainties, economical slowdown, environmental disasters everywhere, the opportunities are always there, right? Those who lead will have advantage. That's the case. And I think our biggest challenge, but also biggest opportunity right now is scale. Leaders are leading. It's not that there's a lack of initiatives, but the problem is we're doing initiatives. We're doing projects, and we need systematic change at scale. And this is the biggest opportunity right now, and that's what I'm hoping we will see in the very near future.
Thank you very much, Angela. Sort of an informal theme this year here was that we don't have time, focusing on finance, solving these pressing problems. So from your point of view, what can you say about finance? Let's turn to Ingmar David here first. In terms of it, why do we need to push so hard on the finance buttons?
Finance is both the solution, of course. We have the solutions, but we need to funnel in more money. there's a discussion going on in the climate movement about that it's unmoral to invest in fossil fuel companies. And the kind of argument against that is that if a pension fund sell the investment in fossil fuel, some else that don't have a sustainability policy will buy that. That's true. But not true is that it doesn't matter, because it matters if you are moving the money, investing in the solutions, because there is no other investor stepping up using the money for the solutions. So we should have the mentality, skip the old, we need to funnel the money into the solutions. And here is very upsetting that many of us are saving our money in the pension funds that are investing it in businesses that we know causing the crisis instead of investing it in the solutions that will save our future and the pension we all want. That's an absurdity. But I would like to say another thing as well. Finance is also what gives me hope, not decisions in finance, but the fact that we have a society today that is not based on science. Our political leaders, no matter if it's Japan or USA or Russia or whatever, or Europe, they are not basing their decision on science many times. Mostly not.
For sure.
But they always bases their decisions on finance. And what I'm both seeing as an opportunity but also very afraid of is that the climate crisis, the coming 4 years, it will probably become a finance crisis. And when the climate crisis becomes a finance crisis, leaders will act. And if they don't act, there will be a real. Just see what happened in UK, where you have this Liz Truss. How long did she last when she did mess up the finance? No matter if you're right or left or whatever, if you can't handle finance, you will not be leader of that country. And so hopefully we can get some sense into late stage acting when the climate becomes a finance crisis. But I hope that finance crisis will not hit too hard, because it will hit the funneling into the solution. That can actually worsen the problem. So it's a bit twisted.
And also we see with the fires in Los Angeles that people are starting to understand the cost not moving the money, doing the right thing. So David or Annie, would you like to add to the next topic?
Yeah, I was just thinking about exactly what you said now, the cost of inaction, because it baffles me always that we don't have money for mitigation, but we can always fork billions and billions of dollars in adaptation, right? And for years we've been talking about this, and it's very easy, right? You have a cellar, there is a flood. You can pay to, some kind of wall so the water doesn't enter. You can pay to clean up the water once it's in, or you can pay to make sure that the water never comes. We're going to pay regardless. So from a business perspective, I'd rather invest money in a way that also gives me ROI, that gives me an advantage, that builds trust and loyalty with my customers, rather than just paying to clean up. It's just a waste of money, honestly.
And also a waste of lives in many respects, of course.
Of course. And I think we are constantly underestimating the cost of inaction, because the infrastructure we have, our whole society globally relies on, is not built for the environmental catastrophe we're seeing. It's not built for withstanding fires. Railways and our bridges not built for heat waves. We see bridges in London being wrapped literally in tin foil because they can't handle the heat waves we're now facing in Europe. We're seeing floods, we're seeing the droughts. This will cause financial disasters, right? What will it cost to clean up? Not to mention the movement of people that can no longer live. Will making this inhabitable for humans. So what will that migration crisis cost us? So there's a lot that goes into this. Honestly, though, as Ingmar said, I'm optimistic because there's one sure way to businesses to accelerate pace, and it's a really positive business case. Exactly, but our metrics are flawed, right? GDP, even the guy who invented it said this is deeply flawed. Let's not rely on this. It doesn't account for impact on nature. negative externalities, not even positive externalities. So we have to do better with our metrics and how we measure success, how we measure growth, and make sure we take the focus, not just cherry pick the good parts.
Indeed, Angela. So, David, I'd like to turn to you now. In terms of action, because we were talking in action here and the need for action, there is critique of that people here, that all the people that come to Davos are really committed to this type of action, not happening enough. So what is your take on this? I mean, we are here, we try to push, but
well, building on what Angela is saying, the world system or the financial system and the leaders, the political leadership of the world and the financial leadership, they're not accounting for what she's talking about. They're not factoring that in, because then otherwise they would handle the situation much gently, and we would see this radical transition going much faster. Now it's just brewing, and we have all options, but we need to open the dams. We saw a talk yesterday with Professor Rockström showing us his some new research, and it's a matter of fact that the Silk Corridor in which we're about to leave, the corridor of life even has it's all of civilization that has existed in that corridor. Now we're about to leave that, and not by a little, but by a lot, a business as usual scenario. So that is the danger we're facing, but we're not factoring that in. And how does a financial crisis happen? Well, it happens when a trust in a certain assets disappear, like the financial crisis. Everyone thought they could, handle the credits that were floating around. Turns out they had a complete wrong picture of the situation. It's the same here. It's the same. So, but flip side of that, and I'm going to talk about that tomorrow, panel on Wednesday, on the connection between climate crisis and financial crisis. So we're sort of plugging that panel now. But on the flip side of it, we have the fact that we can also turn a negative spiral into a positive spiral. So that really connects to trust that Angela was talking about, trust in that the solution will come, and that we get to scale, and that we understand that, okay, this is where the opportunity are. We trust in that. We have trust in the transition. The leaders will be more leaders, and others will follow.
Thank you very much, David. This is very well framed. Thank you. And of course, the climate movement that we're all part of in different aspects, they're crucial to this shift, to this fire of this transition here that's to take place. As always, wonderful to talk to you. We'll be seeing a lot of each other during these days here in Davos. And for all of you viewers that are finding this interesting, please go to wedon'thavetime.org. You can engage with the speakers, you can write, share articles, and watch and rewatch broadcasts. We have so many of our broadcasts available on demand on our broadcast. So please join our community and bring what you can do to this fight for our future. So thanks again for this start of this morning here from Schatzalp, and stay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, welcome to the We Don't Have Time Davos Hub. We're here up next to the Arctic Basecamp, and it's kind of chilly on this side. Next to me, there's a person who's sitting in the sun, which I'm happy to because we're delighted to have you. And we're going to talk about uncertainty in uncertain times. And as climate change accelerates, and the impact, as we spoke earlier, the impact, of course, grows in severity. And we're starting to see real threats to global stability. And we know that we need decisive action to address this, and political tensions, of course, make this very difficult globally. But we need to talk about how do we move past these obstacles, and how do we communicate and collaborate better? And with me, I'm delighted to have Adam Kahan, Schwab Foundation Social Innovative and Thought Leader. Welcome to the We Don't Have Time Davos Hub. And you are an expert in creating processes that enables this. Stakeholders that are on opposite sides of an issue to collaborate, and they might not even understand each other, but you were able to facilitate trust. And Ingmar said previously in the session that trust is key to be able to move forward here. So I think the views agree that this is a very relevant topic to in this situation that we are globally with so much polarization. So I'm going to ask Ingmar Renshaug to come in and take my place and have this conversation with you, Adam Kahan. So delighted to have you, and I'm going to swap microphones and seats with Ingmar. He should be right behind me, and we just unplug.
So, warmly welcome here. I'm looking forward to have this conversation with you. The title is Can We Collaborate with AI? But if we see the climate situation, I think both of us can agree that there is no enemy. The enemy is the problem. But there is different wills in how to solve this and the pace of solving, etc. And you have an amazing experience in kind of get people that don't agree on the same thing to actually move forward and do what it takes together. If my colleagues could come here with the manuscript, would be great if I could get on the meantime you're answering that question. Go ahead.
Yes, well, I'm happy to be here. And yes, I do have a lot of experience over 35 years in working with people who are concerned about an issue, whether it's equality in South Africa or the war in Colombia or Indigenous rights in Canada, who are concerned about an issue but don't necessarily agree with or like or trust each other. And the question I have been working on, both in practice and in theory, is how do we solve tough problems in such situations of difference and polarization?
And if you see you also have background in the oil industry, I read. So I'm very interested to see, can we get the oil sector, that you have experience from, can we have them to actually help us move forward, and how can we do that?
Yeah, so I worked for Shell 40 years ago, so that's quite a long
it was a while ago.
That's quite a long time ago. But even then, in the late 80s, working on scenarios for climate change, so have been involved in this issue for a long time. I think there's two there's two ways forward here, and depending on which you think is feasible or which you want to put your energies towards, you would take a different approach. One approach is to say our opponents are our enemies, whether it's whether you consider that to be oil companies or the Trump administration or the Chinese, to say these are our enemies and we're going to try to mobilize forces to defeat them. I'm not objecting to that strategy. It's a perfectly reasonable strategy. There's to try to get a political and financial and popular support to be able to prevail over those that you consider your enemies or opponents. The problem arises, what if that doesn't work? What if you can't defeat those who you're opposed to? And that's what I'm focused on, is in such cases, how can we move forward with rather than only against those who have perspectives or interests or positions.
And so you see that that's how also can move forward in the agenda.
Well, I think strategies are at play.
Can you apply them at all the time?
Yes, I think you can apply them at the same time. I think often different people or even the same person at different times is on the one hand trying to force on their opponents and at the same time trying to collaborate. I don't think a stable one right way.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in, and what I've done the last 5 years of my life too, is if you're trying to collaborate with those who see things differently, how do you do so? And what I find problematic and have been noticing a lot these last few days is as soon as you set the other up as the enemy, this in a way makes it harder to move forward. This creates rigidity in ourselves and others, resistance, and makes it harder to find new ways forward. It's what I notice, the thinking I notice a lot, conversations the last few days is, I'm happy to collaborate with them if they will agree with me and capitulate in advance. And I think this is not a very promising approach.
No, so we need to be honest approach. We don't agree with each other, but we have different standpoint and is there common ground a little bit?
Yes, or we see things differently, we have different interests, perspectives, strategies. We're not going to agree on everything, or maybe not on most things, but where is there some common ground? Where can we try something? How can we move forward? How can we begin to do things together with trust, not as a precondition, but as a result, with solutions, agreement on solutions, not as a precondition, but as a result of moving forward together.
So, if I say, you can have two strategies. It's often helping those portraying the other side as totally wrong, but that opens up to have diplomacy. The other actors can do diplomacy, and we can, by that, push things forward. Do you see that dialogue can help, like public dialogue that we do here? Should we invite like 3 oil companies to the next panel? That be kind of the methodology?
I think that talking together is helpful, whether it's done in public as a debate or in private as a exploration. That's a tactical issue. Both can be useful. But what I'm noticing is this idea that I have the answer, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm good, you're bad, is helpful in that it clarifies things and energy. We all like to be right. But in other ways, it makes a difficult problem even more difficult.
Yeah.
That's finding practical ways to advance. So I think what I'm advocating is being thoughtful about the process of enemifying, of creating enemies.
Even if you don't agree on something, you maybe can find this common ground, collaborate on that. We have tried to do that here on We Don't Have Time lately. At COP29, we launched an initiative called Buy More Time. And it's all about to actually move forward in limiting short lead times. Not the carbon dioxide, but think of methane gases preliminary. And if we succeed with limiting the methane emissions, we can actually lower the temperature with up to 0.5 degrees. And the difference between carbon dioxide that stay up and up for like 1,000 years compared to methane is that much more short-lived. And methane gas emission is like a side product. It's not burning the fossil fuel. It's not, and it's just leakage when you extract from the ground. It's not what you make money of. So we actually thought that this may be something we can invite a lot of executives to have a conversation about. So we reached out to them. We reached out to all the important people. They have the sustainability networks where oil companies try to be more sustainable. That's the etc. And many oil companies have also done a lot of pledges in this, that they publicly stated that they want to lower their methane emissions. But no one accepted to come on our show. Not because they didn't like to us. I think they have answered things on our platform before, so it's not about that. But they were very afraid of talking about this. And that kind of, if they have done the pledges, can't they talk about it? It's probably because that they're not doing as much as they should, because now they're set up there. You can see actually, they're still leaking, it's actually leaking more. But still, we can talk about it, because they want to do it, they maybe not doing it good enough, but why do you think that the context here is that many in the climate movement are portraying that the oil companies are the enemy, but can it also be the opposite, that they see people like us, or here at least, to be the enemy, and they are afraid of having the dialogue from their side?
It's a very good example, and I noticed your work on methane, and I think it's an excellent example of we have a blockage, so we're trying to see where can we move forward, and wait a second, there's this other approach which gives us an opportunity. Let's try that. Maybe we can buy time and also build relationships and have some experience together. So it's an excellent example of what I was talking about, of finding a way forward, not necessarily through, but around the conflict, and that's the conflict over too. But I'm not at all so with the situation you described, which is that I'm calling you the enemy, and would you like to come on my show so that I can embarrass you or ask you difficult questions? You're living in a media and a social media and a political context where every statement can be amplified or used against. I'm involved in the World Economic Forum, and one of the panels I'm on this afternoon relates to diversity, equity, inclusion. And I notice that that subject, so many corporate participants who have been working for years in this field, reluctant to appear on a public panel, that I assume that they find it more prudent to do what they can not necessarily in the limelight. So I think the point of all of this is there's a benefit to polarization. It clarifies, it energizes, it advises, but there's also a downside to polarization. It rigidifies, it drives apart, and yes, it creates hesitation on poles.
So, in order to make people comfortable to, be in the spotlight in front of the camera, are you saying that it's a big need of doing a lot of more, talks in ghost rooms without cameras, to kind of prepare for being more friendly in the public? Can that be a kind of way, look out from the social media and start talking with people that you don't agree with, just human by human, without the cameras? Can we is that the solution to lower the polarization and create more trust in general?
So yes, I'm not saying there's one solution, but yes, what you have just suggested is how I and my colleagues in Rios Partners have done all of our work. All of our work has been in private, away from social media, enabling people to talk and connect openly and on the issue, and talk the differences and see where they can find a way forward. And that way forward may later involve public actions or public statements, but that's where creative and innovative work is done. It's not that sitting panel people are going to say, oh, I can see. On the contrary, the limelight encourages us to state our existing position that we've carefully crafted from a PR perspective and a legal perspective. So if you're asking people to think of a different way and try something that they haven't tried before with maybe unfamiliar partners that they're not sure they can trust, that they think is risky, then that needs to be done in a safer space than this setting.
So maybe the kind of recommendation to people tuning in here, and especially people now in the United States, we have maybe the most polarized society currently, to turn off social media, turn off the stream, talk with your neighbor, talk with your colleague or family member that you don't agree with, and do that deliberately more scale, and maybe it will help moving us forward. Is that something?
Yes, but I think there's something that comes before that, which is to listen.
Yeah, of course.
Because we imagine, okay, I'm going to have a session with my neighbor or my family member or my professional opponent, and I'm going to tell them this and to listen to me, and why don't they agree, and this is where they're wrong. And I don't find this the most constructive way to start. I think what is a more way to start, to really try to understand, why is this person thinking and saying and doing what I may understand it, still disagree, but it's only when I can understand why are they doing what they're doing and approach them with a modicum of respect and openness and curiosity that maybe we can crack to seeing a way forward beyond the black, white, good, evil polarization, which is, I think, worse and worse. The problem is that the need for collaboration is increasing and our capacity to collaborate decreasing. And in this gulf, we have climate disasters and disasters in so many other spheres.
So, they start listening to each other. That's more important than just.
Well, again, I'm not saying there's one thing that everybody has to do. It's
but you're tricky. You're like, I say this, but I'll say that. I'll say that.
No, but that's it's not tricky. What I'm saying is we have choices. We have options. There isn't one right way. This is useful. These public panels are useful. These declarations are useful. These mobilizations are useful. But the thing that I am focused on and putting my energy to is how can we listen and talk and find new ways forward. But what I'm trying to say is we have choices here. There isn't one right answer.
So, first, you asked question here. It's important to know this. What should we not do?
Well, what we not do is expect that we declare somebody as our enemy and then expect them to work creatively and openly and generously with us.
Okay, thank you so much for this conversation. And with that, we'll leaving the floor for having a listen to the next panel and session here in Davos.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes a film comes along with such originality and pull that you just really have to see it. The day I saw a trailer that you're going to see in a few minutes, and I immediately jumped on the internet. So where can I watch this? It's The End, and it's a new film by the director Josh Oppenheimer, and it's a post-apocalyptic film about a family that are surviving in a salt mine after the end of the world, basically. And this film is including lots of stars, Tilda Swinton. Also, we have in film George McKay, and our next guest, we're delighted to have with us here, Michael Shannon. And we're going to talk about the film with Michael Shannon. First, we're going to watch the trailer.
Mom, in the beginning, did you ever consider inviting more people?
Who could we trust? We had to think about you.
The seconds ticking past so fast. Before you notice them, they're gone.
Someone's here.
Forever.
Can you see how she got in?
No. And there's half a mile of rock above us.
We live here.
We must be a family.
What about your family?
They're gone.
So you're alone?
When I close my eyes.
When I was little, people came. Sometimes they seemed nice, but it always ended in the same way. They'd try and kill us every time.
I just don't understand why she's here. It's like she has an agenda.
An agenda? I don't see what...
You don't see.
I'll never feel a storm blowing warm and wet. I'll never see the hills dark in silhouette. I think I like her.
But you've never met anybody before.
Time from blue to black.
And I know it can't turn back.
What if we just left this place?
There's nothing out there.
You must be very brave, what you went through. We did everything to save you, if you only knew. What the hell did you tell her?
None of it's true.
That was a trailer to the new film, The End. And we're delighted to have stars of the film, Michael Shannon, here with us at the We Don't Have Time Davos Hub. So what can you tell us, Michael, about your character, Ed, in this film?
Well, I play a character called Father. You never actually find out what his name is, but he was an oil tycoon. He made a lot of money, fossil fuels, and with that money, he built a bunker underground for his family to live in once the world was no longer habitable due to climate change. And in the film, you see that they've been down in this bunker for quite some time. He and his wife, played by Tilda Swinton, have had a child down there who was born underground, never saw the surface of the earth, and they've been raising him kind of to be the, I don't know, shining example of humanity. But yeah, he's a conflicted person for sure. He does ultimately have some remorse about what he did. He's also trying to keep a positive attitude. Yeah.
So, Michael, what attracted you to film, to this project?
Well, I just thought it was such a fast concept to imagine in the future the way about what it would be like to be in a situation like this underground, this bunker. And the filmmaker, Joshua Oppenheimer, is a fantastic documentarian. He's made two incredible films, The Act of Killing and The Look of Silence, set in Indonesia. And those films moved me very much. So I was curious to work with him because this is his first narrative feature.
What would you like for the audience to bring with them after having watched the film?
Oh, Lord. I don't know. There's so much in the film about humanity and about the conflicts, I think, that are in all of, one of the reasons Josh didn't give any characters names is because these characters really, I think, ultimately are archetypes, and they're meant to symbolize all of us. I am the father, Tilda is the mother, George is the son. But he really wants everybody to imagine, to put themselves in the position of these characters and feel and think and consider everything going through in a very personal way, which is why it's a musical. We haven't mentioned yet that there's a lot of singing and dancing in it, which seems, I think, kind of strange considering the subject matter, but it was a brilliant stroke on Josh's part because it really humanizes the characters in a way and made them, I believe, very relatable. So, yeah, I think it's meant to, in a perverse sort of way, be enjoyed as much as anything, but also to make people really consider what's happening right now and see if they can do anything in their own way to try and avert this crisis that seems to be coming our way.
Thank you, Michael. And in terms of the role of culture here and pushing leaders to really act, what role do you think films and other types of culture can play in this push for leadership?
Well, I think they keep the issue in the consciousness. I find so often nowadays, so many of my friends, they get so overwhelmed by what's happening that their strategy to deal with it is to just ignore it and to say, well, I'm going to read the news more because I can't handle it anymore. And that's not a solution. That's really going to have pretty disastrous consequences if that's what he chooses to do. So I always try, when I make choices about the work that I am involved in, to, and you have to be gentle with people. You can't just punish people, because a lot of people don't really deserve to be punished. They're not bad people. They just, I think with films, you have a way of keeping these issues in the forefront in a way that is creative and potentially inspiring, and more complex than simply giving people information.
Thank you very much. Here at WEF, what message would you like to convey? I mean, you have lots of followers, people are just gathering here, seeing you on stage here, and we have many viewers that will be watching this also afterwards, and many of them are political decision-making leaders. So is there a message you would like to convey or based on your personal experiences making this film?
Well, I think the predominant message, it's a pretty simple one, is don't give up, you know? Don't give up. There's too much at stake, and it's fighting for. I've been concerned about climate change ever since I was a teenager, which was a while ago. I've actually made films that I feel are connected to the climate change crisis, and I'll keep making them if I feel like they're creative and innovative and can push the discussion in a constructive way. But yeah, I think I've only been a very brief period, and just tonight I have so many people that do such wonderful work, and it really fills my heart with joy. It's such a beautiful thing to see people, in the face of all this adversity, still be inspired to try and create change and create ways of protecting humanity. And that's really what we're protecting. A lot of times I think people get confused. They think we're protecting the earth, but the earth will be fine.
Indeed.
We'll be the ones that are gone. So the earth will regenerate and figure out another way to continue on. But we, for our own sakes, have to continue this fight, struggle against, and it really comes down to money. And it's an old, tired cliche, but it really is true. Money is the root of all evil. And because the technology is there, the innovation is there, we just have to buy into it. And it may temporarily change our economy in ways some people are uncomfortable with, but we don't have a choice. We have to do it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And the film, could you say just a sentence or two about it?
Well, it's already been out in America. But I believe it's coming definitely to Sweden and Denmark quite soon. I know it'll be out in England, I believe, in March, and it'll be popping up. Just keep an eye out for it. It's called The End. It's by Joshua Oppenheimer. And if you haven't seen his other film, The Act of Killing and the Look of Silence, I recommend those too.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Michael Shannon, for joining us.
Thanks,
Thank
Katarina.
you. Yeah? Oh. Right. So we're back. We're here in front of the Arctic Basecamp tent. And we have this wonderful We Don't Have Time Davos studio here, bringing guests into this field of working with climate action. And we're not coming to you live because we're going to talk about the 1.5 degree. We start today's broadcast here, and it's hosted by We Don't Have Time, and in partnership with Hitachi Energy. We're going to talk to a panel with wonderful guests, We're to talk about the very serious breach of what we saw this past year, 2024, the breach of the 1.5 degree. And we're going to frame this session 1.5 degree, a broken promise or renewed call to action. So is it a broken promise or a renewed call to action? The Paris Agreement commits for us to stay well below 2 degrees. And if possible, to that's the, yeah. Okay. So it was a little bit of mistake. Double signals from the crew here. So on with this type of this test, and for now, and just stay tuned. Thank you.